Good evening. Settle in, find that perfect, comfortable position, and let your body begin to feel heavy. Allow the sounds around you to just fade away. Tonight we're going on a journey, but not in this world, or even in this time. We are drifting back, far back, to an island crafted by a god for the mortal he loved, a place of impossible beauty and wealth, known as Atlantis. So relax and let your mind drift as we tell the entire story of its magnificent rise and its tragic fall. Our story starts, as all good stories do, with the sea god Poseidon and a mortal woman who would become the mother of a legendary people. Long before our own age, the gods divided the world among themselves, and when they did, the vast, untamed ocean became the realm of the mighty Poseidon. His kingdom was the endless blue, the crash of the waves, and the quiet mystery of the deep. On his travels, he came upon an island in the Atlantic, just beyond the Great Pillars of Heracles. It was a beautiful place with rich, fertile soil and a gentle climate, and on this island lived a young woman named Cleito. Her parents, Evenor and Leucippe, were said to have been born from the earth itself. When they died, Cleito was left all alone, living on a low hill in the middle of the island. And it was here that Poseidon, the lord of the sea, first laid eyes on her and fell deeply in love. To protect the woman he loved and to create a perfect home for them, Poseidon decided to reshape the very island itself. He used his divine power to carve the land, creating great rings of water and earth that circled one another, all centered on the hill where Cleito lived. He made 2 rings of land and 3 rings of water, as if turning them on a giant potter's wheel, each one a perfect circle. In those ancient days, no one knew how to build ships or sail, so his creation made the central island a perfect, untouchable sanctuary. Here, in this hidden paradise, Poseidon made sure they had everything they could ever need. He brought forth 2 natural springs from the earth, one warm and one cold. The water nourished the land, which bloomed with fragrant plants, lush forests, and every kind of fruit you can imagine. Animals, both wild and tame, roamed freely, and there was always more than enough for everyone. It was in this perfect world that Cleito gave birth to Poseidon's sons. 5 sets of twins, 10 sons in all demigods, born of a mortal and a god. They were the very first princes of Atlantis. The eldest of them all was named Atlas, and because he was the firstborn, Poseidon declared that he would be king over the entire island and the ocean that surrounded it. It's from him that the island got its name, Atlantis, and the ocean became the Atlantic. His 9 brothers became princes, and each was given a vast territory to rule. From these 10 sons, the royal families of Atlantis would rule for generations to come. With King Atlas and his brothers leading them, Atlantis entered its golden age. For many generations, the descendants of the 10 kings ruled with wisdom, honoring the laws their divine father had set down. The spark of the divine they inherited from Poseidon was still strong within them. They cared more for virtue and character than they did for their incredible wealth, which they almost seemed to ignore. The city itself became a wonder. The kings built on their father's creation, adding to its splendor. They built bridges over the rings of water to connect the islands, and dug great canals wide enough for ships to pass through, creating an incredible waterway from the open sea right to the heart of the city. At the very center of it all, where Cleito's home once stood, they built a magnificent royal palace and a holy temple to Poseidon and Cleito. The outside of the temple was covered entirely in silver, with accents of pure gold that flashed in the sun. But inside, the roof was made of ivory, decorated with gold, silver, and a strange, mysterious metal they called orichalcum. They said it glowed with a fiery red light, and it was the most precious thing in Atlantis, second only to gold itself. And in the middle of the temple stood a massive golden statue of Poseidon in his chariot, pulled by 6 winged horses, so tall that its head nearly scraped the ivory ceiling. The city's defenses were just as impressive as its temples. They built huge walls around each of the land rings. The outermost wall was coated in brass, the middle one in tin, and the wall around the central palace glowed with the red light of orichalcum. The island's harbors were packed with over 1,000 warships and countless merchant ships that traded with the entire known world. Canals crisscrossed the plains, irrigating the land so well that they could harvest their crops twice a year. The mines gave them precious metals, including that rare orichalcum. Atlantis was truly alive, a perfect harmony of divine gifts and human skill. The empire was governed by sacred tradition. Every 5 or 6 years, the 10 kings would meet in the temple of Poseidon. There, carved on a massive pillar of orichalcum, were the laws that Poseidon himself had created. The most important law was a promise that they would never fight against one another and would always come to each other's aid. Their meetings began with a strange and solemn ritual. A bull would be let loose in the temple, and the 10 kings, armed only with wooden clubs and nooses, had to hunt and capture it together. Then they would sacrifice the bull on top of the great pillar, so its blood ran down over the sacred laws. They would mix the blood with wine in a golden cup and swear an oath to judge fairly, punish anyone who broke the law, and live by their divine father's rules. For many generations, this system kept the peace. The kings and their people were good, their divine natures still pure. But as time went on, things slowly began to change. The bloodline thinned as they married mortals, and with each new generation, the divine part of their nature grew weaker. The human part, with all its weaknesses and desires, grew stronger. Their wisdom was replaced by an insatiable greed. Their humility was replaced by an arrogant pride. They stopped seeing their wealth as a gift and began to hoard it. They saw their power not as a duty, but as their right. To anyone who didn't know better, the Atlanteans seemed more glorious than ever, drowning in what looked like success. But their virtue was gone. They could no longer handle their own prosperity. Their hearts filled with a desire for conquest, and they began using their mighty army to build an empire, conquering lands across the sea, from Libya all the way to Egypt, and sweeping through parts of Europe. Atlantis, once a symbol of perfection, had become a tyrant, seeking to enslave the known world. It was ancient Athens that finally stood up to the Atlantean war machine. In Plato's story, Athens was the model of a perfect, virtuous city. The Athenian army led a coalition of free people against the invaders. But when the fighting grew desperate, their allies abandoned them. Athens fought on alone, their courage fueled by their virtue. In a great and terrible war, they defeated the mighty Atlantean army, pushing them back and freeing the lands they had enslaved. In this story, Athens was the hero that humbled the arrogant empire. And it's here that Plato's telling of the story reaches a cliffhanger. Zeus, king of the gods, saw that the once noble people of Atlantis had been totally corrupted by greed and pride, and he decided it was time for a judgment. He called all the other gods to his home at the very center of the universe, the place from which you can see all of creation. He gathered them to pass sentence on this fallen civilization, and that's where Plato's text just stops. But we know what happened to Atlantis. After their defeat in the war, the island itself faced a much harsher judgment from the gods, who were furious that the Atlanteans had forgotten their laws and given in to their pride. In a single terrible day and night, the world turned on the island. Violent earthquakes and catastrophic floods began. The ground shook with a fury that no wall could ever withstand. The very foundations of Atlantis were ripped apart. The perfect rings of land and sea, the shining temples, the glittering palaces, and all the proud people of that great city were swallowed whole by the ocean. The island of Atlantis, with all its glory and all its power, vanished beneath the waves. It sank into the deep, becoming nothing but a shoal of mud and a warning against the folly of human pride. And so, the story of Atlantis comes to its end. A civilization born from a god's love, blessed with riches, that rose to unimaginable power, only to be consumed by its own arrogance and wiped from the face of the earth in a single night. As you drift deeper now, deeper into sleep, maybe you can almost see it, the faint glow of orichalcum in the silent depths, the grand canals, now still and quiet. A lost world, sleeping forever beneath the waves. Was it a real place? A distorted memory of some ancient disaster? Or was it what most scholars think, a cautionary tale written by Plato, a timeless warning about what happens when power leads to greed and greed leads to ruin? The real answer is lost to time, a secret the ocean keeps. Let that mystery guide you now into a deep and peaceful rest. Let the waves of the story wash over you as you sink deeper and deeper into sleep. If you enjoyed our journey tonight, feel free to subscribe for more stories to guide you into your dreams. And you can always leave a comment sharing what stories you'd like to travel to next.